good evening, and thank you for joining us for another of our Teleworks online artworks lectures. Before we begin, I'd like to give you some information about the Atelier at Flowerfield, a 501(c)(3) not-for-profit organization. Our Fall 1 session starts on September 12th, and registration is now open on our website, atelierflowerfield.org. We offer a variety of fine art, drawing and painting classes in a variety of mediums, both online and in studio. We also offer classes in illustration and digital painting. We have a variety of paintings for sale on our online art shop, and details again can be found on our website. Our next exhibition is a 50-year retrospective of works by Neil Slaughter, which opens on September 8th, and that is the date of the opening reception, 5:30 to 7:30. All are welcome. The gallery is open 9 to 5, Monday through Saturday. Tonight, our new instructor, Denis Ponsot, is presenting a demonstration and lecture, introducing himself and his work to the Atelier community. And I do apologize for the technical difficulties we've been having. He will be teaching an online watercolor class this fall on Wednesday evenings. Details can be found on our website, and you can also register there. If you prefer, you can call us at 631-250-9009, and we can register you manually. We welcome him this evening and hope you enjoy tonight's demonstration and lecture. If you wish to ask questions, you can put them in the chat room. I will now hand over to Denis Ponsot. So Denis, if you'd like to turn your camera and your microphone back on, and we'll let the lecture begin.
So this is a little awkward because normally I use my iPad and everything gets sort of done over my shoulder. But here, I'm going to have to try to paint something down on the table. We're just going to tilt this computer to see if we can cover. Here is the original painting. This is a watercolor, 22 inches by 30 inches, done on Arches 140-pound cold press. When I started Zooming 3 years ago, or maybe it's a little more now, like that March in the beginning of pandemic, I offered a free sort of online Zoom to anybody who wanted to join. And my choice was to do something like this, because quite frankly, what was going on around us was so horrific that I thought maybe if I could distract people for a half hour, an hour, this painting took much longer than that, by the way, that it would be a thing to do. Within 15 minutes, I had over 100 people on that. It froze my screen, but I learned since then how to try to manage these things. Anyway, each one is painted individually. These are like small pieces of sculpture. You see, if we bring it a little closer, you can see the shadows. The depth of the shadow is what's critically important here, along with the brightness in the back. I'm going to put this aside. Here you see my drawing. Most likely in class, I'll be using my own Zoom link, so I don't have problems with it. I like using good brushes. The Winsor Newton Series 7 are my favorites. You know, I tend to wear them out pretty quickly, though, because I do so much painting. But that's a good thing. And in terms of my colors, I use the Winsor Newton colors. Right? Winsor Newton colors are the professional grade in the tube. It's also available in cakes and things of that sort. A standard, which is what this paper is here, is the Arches 140-pound cold press. Although lately I've been using a lot of rough paper also, because I've been trying to master, or at least learn more and more about dry brush techniques. So that's what I'm going to do. In terms of my colors, the colors in my palette, see a few things we can actually do. This here is a little porcelain tray. I'm going to pull out my reds. I'm going to need some alizarin crimson. I hope you're painting too. That'd be nice. Alizarin crimson. It's an important color there. I like to be able to mix my colors in like a terrain here, you know, where they're also overlapping each other. Can be really, really nice. That's the alizarin crimson. I'm going to use Opera. That's a Holbein color. I do cross mix my paints. This is a bright pink. And here I have a Lucas Red. So you have three different brands here, three. The Lucas Red. It's not to say I won't come up with another one. But in some cases, the cherries are orange, right? I use at least 2 water containers, at least 2, because you really want to get the brushes thoroughly clean when you move from one color to the other. That's really important. So we got, I don't know, a dozen or so, maybe a bit more of these cherries here. You have to make that noise when you clean your brushes. Otherwise, it's not getting clean. You should test your brush first to make sure it's clean enough to use with a sensitive color. You dunk it in. And this is the ferrule of the brush here. And you press down and you see it releases the paint right there. Get water on it. Don't shake all the water out. And then roll it. This brush is ready to be used. Let's just check the other one. This one too is green. I just came back from a workshop in Pennsylvania. So I have a lot of green in on my brushes, but that's clean now. I'm going to take the alizarin crimson. I'm going to take the alizarin crimson here, right? Put it right about there. I like to make a puddle of paint. Why? Because there are a lot of these and they're all very similar. This way I don't have to be remixing the color every single time. But I'm going to go for a bright red. So I have the power of the alizarin crimson here, and I'm going to add to it some of the Lucas Red. Let's get some more. The shadows I'll put in once I get through all the cherries. I'm going to use the Lucas Red now here to kind of beef up the brightness, right? It may look a little too pink for the cherries, but watercolor painting, we're layering the colors, you know? We're layering the colors. All right, I'm going to move this off the board. You start your color where the shadow is. So right in here, for instance, there is shadow. We bring the color in. I try to avoid covering my line because it allows me to erase it, especially in a shape like this, which has a nice sort of global form. I'm going to put water on this brush, and from the edge, I'm going to pull this color up. This is a first pass. Could easily be 4 passes on these. I will make up the time if I'm allowed. So you're not shortchanged. Now, since I've done the one, I'm going to not do any one of these. I'm going to move over because I don't want the colors to run into each other. There are times I actually paint on top of this box just this way, especially working on a big piece. I just spin the picture around the box. I'm just going to keep going through these till I get them all. As you're looking at those cherries, you can see that they have a lot more rich color. But it's good to build those colors up. The shadow is all at the bottom, right here. It's all at the bottom. So this is the way I sort of run my class for those who are not familiar with my process. Every week, I will send out 3 photographs. Because right now we're working from photographs, we're not in person. And you will get to vote on the one you like most. Now, I believe that variety is very important. Very, very important. You want to be able to, you know, do a street scene in Italy or do a rose, you know, all very, very important. Nice mix of things. So what I do is after the votes are in, I then will resend the winner with my drawing. Like you see here, this is my drawing. With my drawing, so you have an idea of how that is done. Okay, this size here is a half sheet of Arches paper. Okay, so that's 15 by 22. I also will give you a list of suggested colors for that image. And I say they're suggested because often people will have different paints. You know, we don't all have the same paints, right? So you may want to substitute your red for what I'm suggesting. So you got nice highlights in here. Nice highlights, right? Every once in a while, I'll tilt it up. I do shake out the water on the floor of the studio. That's why it's a studio, not my living room. So I don't, because if I come here and I drop this here, I'll have a puddle. I'll have a puddle there, and I don't want a puddle. So shake out the water, and that brings the brush to a point, and I can do some good things with it. All right, let's come back over here where we were before. This is dry, this is dry. This, you know, in the summer with air conditioning, things dry very quickly. I also recommend that students send their own pictures so that everybody can see them and they can make a choice perhaps from one of your pictures. Because my thinking is most of the time, students coming into the class have an idea of what they want to paint. You know, what kind of an image they would like to learn to make. And I would like to share that with everybody. See, we're coming right around here. Look, see? First one's dry, right into it. Yeah, taking that light out was a good idea. When it comes down from the top, you don't see the glare, which is good. I work steadily. I set a pace through a piece. I work steadily. You can find my work at www.denisponsot.com. There you'll see information on various techniques. There's several videos there that can be useful. I also have a Facebook page that you're welcome to like if you want, or Instagram. You'll also see on my website my workshops. I do national and international workshops. Very exciting. I'm currently working on, just check. This is not this dry. 2023, because, you know, I'm a believer, let's take our time. You know, people who are flying, because my wife is a physician. So when I say, when Jeannie decides that she's not going to wear a mask in the office, that's when I'll decide. Because it's out there still. Got to be careful. I just finished a workshop in Chatsworth, Pennsylvania. Beautiful place. Beautiful place. We were at the Inn at Grace Winery. Wish I could see everybody. Sort of like I'm talking to myself here. This way you're having a conversation with somebody. I teach in several other places, but the Atelier seemed to me to be a really nice organization. Some very smart people there. And it was an honor to be asked to teach. We're almost done. This part. This part. See, I still have plenty of paint in my tray. See, not too much water, just enough to move the paint around. Looking good, looking good. I have a painting on exhibit at the Art Guild right now. Home is where the art is. It's a painting I did from one of my workshops in Tuscany. It was a fun workshop. I didn't actually technically run it. Somebody else did. And after that experience, I decided to run them myself. Because you have to be very, very tight. You have to scrutinize everything. I've almost finished everything in the bowl. First pass. First pass. Let's see. Who's out here? I don't think I'll get to the background because it's hard enough to get each one of these to the point where they really look finished. Now, how will I know they look finished? They look finished because they'll be three-dimensional. As I mentioned before, they're like little sculptures. Little sculptures. Very important to get the shadow to the right place. There's also a shadow on the table. It does have a reddish tint to it, but I won't use this red for that shadow color. See, what I'll do after this is the bowl. We'll get that blue in there right away. I'll use probably a peacock blue there. It's a really nice bright color. Just a few more. By the way, this painting got a little bit of attention because an article was written about it in the Newsday, which was kind of nice. The writer saw something about the invitation on Facebook, so he called me up and he interviewed me. Excuse me, over the phone. That wasn't my intention, but he thought the same way with me. Said, hey, let's see if we can do something nice. Here, here. This is all shadow in here. There we are. Okay, looks good. Take too long. Okay. Nice and bright. Nice and bright and red. But there's no real shadow in there yet. What makes it 3D is the shadow, is the shadows there. But to afford it a little contrast at this point, I'm going to put that sort of blue violet in a mold in. Whoops. Put a schmutz on my paper. You're not supposed to put a schmutz on your paper. I wanted a white background. That's how you do it. You work with a dry brush, scrub into it with a soft sable. You grab a napkin. I use these pizza napkins a lot. I'll tell you a story. When the COVID hit, I was like freaking out. I can't go get pizza, which means I can't go get pizza napkins because I use them like crazy in my work. This is what they look like. You've seen these things. They're in those dispensers, you know. But these are particularly good. Main reason these are particularly good is because there's no real pattern on them. They're relatively smooth. So what I can do is I can wrinkle it up. See? Create textures. You see that texture there? And use it to dab. Works very nicely. Let's think about the bowl. And before I go further with this, I'll erase all the pencil, as much of it as I can. Now, usually I show the class the image on the computer. And then I blow it up. See? So you too can see those details. When I have this blown up to a 27-inch screen, I see everything. Everything. But you see, that's a nice violet color. That's sort of a blue violet, and then more of a blue in here. How do I make that color? I need a palette. I show you how to mix colors too. Now I'm going to need a blue. Okay, I'm going to need a blue. I'll look for the peacock blue. That's a Holbein color. See, I can't zoom in, which, you know, again, with the iPad, I have no problem in zooming in. You're right on top of everything that's happening. To make that violet, I'm not going to use alizarin crimson or Lucas red. I'm going to work with opera. So we'll take a little bit. Always start with a small amount on your brush, especially with strong colors. You can see that color just start to change. Look at that. That's the color. A little more blue. Again, this is the first pass on the bowl. I like to test my colors as well. This way I'm certain that when I go to my original, I have the color I need. So I have a scrap paper here. This is the Arches 140. Let me test it. You got it there. Sometimes I stretch the color out to see what other tones it makes. Right? We have the color ready. Let's double check the edge. The edge has a dark color around the outside of it. I'm not going to be worried about that because I'll be painting a second time. Again, there'll be a dark color on the outside edge of this. Now, before I go too far, clean my brush, shake out the extra water. We're going to put some water on this. See? So it gets lighter. Controlling the water on the brush is an essential part to watercolor painting.
Dennis, if you don't mind me interrupting, we have some questions. So I have Arlene Fiorella who said, did you use Frisket on this painting?
No, no. Mainly because things like the stem I can paint around, individual ones in here are fine. My thinking is if you put highlights on these with masking, it looks artificial. So I don't put it on.
Okay, thank you. Richard Brenner, did you use a device for the shape of the bowl or was it freehand? P.S. Hello from 20 years ago.
That's freehand.
Okay. Arlene Fiorella again, did you use opera and ultramarine for the bowl?
That's no, I use peacock blue. Peacock blue and opera for the bowl.
Thank you very much. And if anyone else has any questions, I will answer them as we go along.
Great.
Thank you.
Can you hear my dogs? The woof woof. That's Gloria and Murphy. They have no qualms about woofing during Zoom class. No qualms at all. The little bit of color that's inside here is like a turquoise. You look at the bottom of the bowl. The bottom of the bowl is also a dark violet, but I'm going to paint it with this color now for the time being. We'll darken it later. Yeah, there are many ways to put your drawing on a piece of paper. I use them all. I find that if I'm doing, for instance, a Zoom class and the class has picked, several of my classes have picked the same picture. Oh boy. That means I have to freehand draw those things, each one. That could be maybe 4 or 5, which I don't do. So I use an Epson projector for that, digital projector. And that gives me the speed in which I can produce the drawings. You can also do a transfer. I teach this in the class. Students use it all the time. So here's your image, right? Your image is here. You take a pencil, a dark pencil, like a 6B kind of pencil, really dark, and you graphite the back. Fill in everything. This can be a computer printout. Don't use color. Don't use a color print. Use a black and white. Save yourself some money. Then you flip it over, and when you draw here, the line comes out on the watercolor paper. Very simple process. We have an eraser. I use the Morris Stadler erasers. I've been using it for like 25 years or more. Beautiful. Does not damage the paper. Does not damage the paper. And that is a factor. You have to wait till things are really dry.
I have another question, Dennis. If you don't mind me interrupting, if you'd rather we wait to the end, I can, but Paula Pelletier is asking, do you always start a painting with paint freshly squeezed out of the tube rather than reactivating dried watercolor?
No, not really. See, a studio with multiple palettes. Some of these haven't been washed in a couple of years. But when I break them down, some are used for landscape. Here's a red palette, for instance. Yeah, here's a red palette, and so on. So I keep the paint. Why wash it off? You wash it off, you're throwing your money away. Yeah, it's for the most part good enough. Try not to use your hands to wipe the paper, right? This is a small drafting brush, works fine. You can also use a, like a white house painting brush. You have natural oils on your hands, natural oil on the hand. And it's the kind of thing which will leave marks on the paper. And what happens then is the paint goes over it and it beads up through the shadows. Get into the shadows. Where are we going now? Shadow. I always try to paint the areas that are unpainted first. Okay, that's what I'll do. Now to make gray, not black and white. No. Payne's gray is very predictable. I can spot it 20 feet in a painting. It's not my favorite color. There are some people swear by it. Me, I'd rather make the grays that I'm looking for. So I usually mix blue and brown combinations. And what I have here is exactly that. This here is a great gray. It's like a violet gray almost. You can see the color there. It's kind of pretty. So I'm going to use that for under the bowl. Now, just in case, because I know I like to paint close to the line, I'm going to take out some of this pencil here. Leave just enough line to get a sense of how the bowl turns. Okay. I'll use a size 5 series 7. in the workshop this summer, we did things a little differently. You know, we were sort of being, how should I say, inspired by Andrew Wyatt. And since that was his neck of the woods, I was born in Wilmington, Delaware. We spent a couple of years there. My godmother lived there, so I used to travel down there to Chanceford quite often, especially when I was in high school and I was like a struggling artist. She was great to chat to. She knew all about art. Very, very incredibly creative individual. Okay, this is a dark shadow, but not super dark. I'm going to start under the bowl. Now, I'm not going to paint it this way with the backhand, right? Because it's much more difficult. I'm going to turn the board around. And start here. So the point of my brush is right up against that edge. First pass on the shadow. It's a beautiful gray. Burnt umber and cobalt blue. You might have a touch of sepia in it. This came from the Chanceford workshop. This palette. Now, before I go too far, what's that, 7? I have a size 7, series 7 here, with water on the brush. I'm going to soften that edge. See, I give it a kind of a wiggling feel. Wiggle, wiggle. It does get lighter as it comes to the outer edge. There we go. There we have it. Water on the brush. See? The bowl is now sitting on the table. Okay. Now we have to go to the dark side. Because the cherries, I don't know, maybe they're more like strawberries right now, right? We've got to change that. When my water looks like this, see, water looks like this, I change it. There we go. Done. Now, the dark side means we need to put the shadows in on those cherries. The outside line here, the edge here, I can erase that as soon as this dries. So let's make the darker color. Here I've got the alizarin crimson. That's the one I was sticking with for a while. I have two brands I use. This one here is the Holbein. Kind of a terrific color. I'm going to put a little bit of that in here. Second pass to the dark color. Let's get some water in here. I made 25 passes with the brush. They're exhausted. Just pour the water right in there. We're good to go. Beautiful color, the alizarin crimson. Rich color. Every brand, they have similar colors, but they're very different from each other. Very different. More pigment. And I'm going to go to the sepia. Sepia you add very gradually. Tiny little bit on the end of the brush. See, all of a sudden it changes very quickly. Tiny little bit on the end of the brush. Do this slowly. This way you can keep check on your colors. Let's check it. I got the card. It's not dark enough. Oh no. A little more. So I need more of the red pigment too. So that that rich pigment combines. That's a cherry red color. Beautiful, beautiful color. Very transparent. That's always a good thing. So you would be able to see the blow up of the photo too in the class. Right now you're limited. All right, let's move along quickly. Second brush for water, very much like I did before. Starting from the left, working to the right. Second pass. See, in the highlight, it's not like a hot spot because that's an artificial highlight, right? It was lamps. It was a lamp like I have here, right here, looking right over that thing. You know, I don't think it's dark enough. Say it again. That's how you tell. Once it's on the paper, you will know. This is what we're looking for. See if we've made a difference here. That's better. I tend to slow down a little bit with the second pass. You want it to be right. Can't rush through it. My classes usually are 3 hours long. And we get a lot done. There is an occasion where a class can be considered a 2-week project because it's just way too complicated to sort of like kind of race through, you know. So, but that decision is made with the class. I don't make that decision. You get to pick the project. layering the colors, building them up on top of each other. If I fall silent, it's only because I'm concentrating. Takes time. Be patient. Be patient. Oh, I forgot one here. Little did I know, this guy didn't want to get painted. We'll fix him. Building those colors up. Yeah, next year for workshop, I'll be going to Trieste, Italy. Trieste, beautiful Trieste. We're going to land in Venice, what a hardship, and 5 to 7 days there. And on the return, there'll be a separate little workshop, a mini workshop for Venice for 3 days. Should be very interesting, very exciting. I'm already doing the research. I happen to have a person who lives there 8 months out of the year, and she's giving me great insight on details. It actually is easier to paint them the second time because you got a coating of paint there. So the color kind of glides across that little surface. It's much better. And then the second workshop, this is still in an infant stage, will be the Olympic rainforest in California. I have to figure that one out. It takes me 6 months to put a workshop together, even with help. But that's what it takes. Going to do this one a second time. So this has got 3 passes now. You can see it's going to be a little bit darker than the others. Oops. Schmutz. Don't pay attention to that man behind the curtain. Hey, this means a human painted it. I don't think I drew the shadow in here. Shouldn't be a problem. Coming right along here. There. Then we'll go back to the center. How many times do I clean my brush in the painting? Right? A lot. A lot. Hey, it's starting to look 3D. I haven't even put in the final blue in here. It's all dark in here. Here too. Yeah. That's as long as it's talking down, it's not the end of the world. Next color we go after this, we're going to mix the alizarin crimson with some purple, some dark purple. And all these little corners in, slow and steady. I mean, there's some tedious parts about painting where you have to get through the whole experience. You know, if you're putting bricks on a building, Well, guess what? That's going to take you a while. It's going to require something a little bit more. I think I'm here. Yep. Covering a lot of ground here. Okay. In class, you'll get to see the close-up zoom of it actually being painted, each one. This is sort of like a shoemaker's deal here, but do the best we can. Okay. Got some shadows to put in a few places. There's that same gray from before. Putting the gray on the red. Also, one of the tricks you can do right here. Bring it right up into this cherry, the shadow. Take the excess water out of the brush with your fingers. You don't want a lot of water here. Bring the color right up into the cherry. Make them look more three-dimensional. That's the idea. And then the other side. Water. Making them look 3D. I think what I'll do is just use the gray on the red. That should be enough. See, I like it very much here. See, you do Philadelphia before you go to New York, right? Starting here. gray is a nice neutral tone. I'm going to come back in here with another red because the highlights are too dull. Hard to believe, huh? Yeah, they're too dull. Thought I was going to use a purple and brown. Changed my mind. That's because I'm the teacher. I changed my mind. Looking at some, saying, you know, that kind of works nicely. That kind of works nicely. I take my watercolor paper down to Gator board. That's the board I'm working on now. This happens to be a 3/4 of an inch, which is pretty substantial. And it's terrific for, you know, keeping the work flat, for instance, just a bunch of really good things like that. You can turn it around easily. It's not folding up on you.
One more quick question, I think. Maureen Puda asks, are the cherries bigger than life size?
All depends the store you go to. No, they're a little, they are certainly, I would say they're probably a third larger, you know. But when you have such a nice shape with such a beautiful color, you can afford to make them a little bigger. It's fine.
Thank you.
I mean, if you look at the fruit from Italy and France and, you know, European countries where it just blows your mind as what they have as everyday produce. You can find it here too. I have the Queens Farm Museum, which is you can literally walk there from my home, and they have a beautiful arrangement of things. So the size will vary. It'll vary. Now they're starting to pop a little. You notice they kind of fold into each other a little bit. That's sort of the way I see them. I don't see these as all individuals, but they're linked together. They are linked together. What time are we tuning down here? 9:15? Just so I have pasted in my head.
Yeah, yes, we can go until 9:15, no problem.
Then it's not too far. The beauty of Zoom is nobody has to drive. I used to drive from the Art League. I worked there over 30 years, and I would teach 4 classes. I would teach a watercolor class in the afternoon, let's say from 10:30. And then I would teach young children, then teenagers, and then a watercolor evening class. But I'm not teaching there anymore because the new director said that she's not doing any more Zoom classes. Okay, here I am. My father's second generation in that place. Second generation. Well, I'm the second generation. He was the first. So I have quite a history there. And it was just brushed aside as if it's a je ne sais quoi. I'm glad to be here where I am, most assuredly. I just don't get it, but that's what it is. We're going to make these brighter, because right now they have that sort of dull quality to them, which is kind of cool. But we're going to make them brighter. And so they're ticking these off. Cleaning up my edges every time I come around, see? Cleaning up the edge. And I really wish you had a good view of this. That's it. I've been around the park. Oh, but no, I have two more. The deuxième, right here. And here. There we go. We have stems to put in here too. Let's get this white space here. Spots. See, we need that cherry red, right? And that's going to make the 5th color on here. Amazing how many times you can layer with watercolor. I'm going to try to let you see the painting I just finished from Chatsworth. The Southern plantation piece. Worked out very nicely. Very happy with it. All right, we got the brighter blue, we have the peacock blue to put in, we have the dark purple on the outside edge. So I'm going to start with the sort of turquoise color, which down towards this part of this setup. Just set it out with that color on it. I'm just going to grab it. See, cobalt turquoise light. Beautiful color. Beautiful color. Let's get rid of some of this pencil here. This is Winsor Newton color, right? Why do I use different brands? Because different brands have specialties within their own color line. There was a time I would say, oh, you get all Winsor Newton. I've changed that philosophy. Here's the turquoise blue. the edge a little bit. I'm always trimming the edges, you know, making sure that they're right. Soften this. See, there's no pencil here now, so I don't have to worry about it. A little over here. We're trying to get away with it here. Gotta do the stems. Those are relatively easy. Wait till the peacock blue comes in here. Gorgeous. I don't know if it's here, but I'm going to put it there anyway. You never know. Come around there too. See, the Series 7s come to really good points. And with some practice, you can get them to be almost like pencil, you know, really have some nice, you know, it goes with the artist's hand. And it can be messy. This doesn't have to be a smooth, even thing. This is ceramics, right? Yeah, it can be messy. See the way the blue brightens that up? Very nicely. Now, peacock blue. Sorry. There's a second brush to blend out the color. See how quickly I came right over that, right? It's going to fuzz out a little bit. That's fine. That is very fine. Now, brush with water. Take out some of the excess water with my hand. Scrunch into that a little bit. You don't want it too wet because you don't want it to flood the area, right? I never paint the same picture twice. I mean, I may paint the same picture twice, but it's never the same. I learn things from each piece. When I was teaching kids in the studio for many, many years, all of them have been to college and back. So we used to do things like make a portfolio, right? Make a portfolio. Why do we got to make a portfolio? We made one last year. Well, the idea is that you want to, now, there is, I interrupt myself. There is a highlight on this outer edge here. I'm going to represent it this way. I have the darker color on my brush. Leave a thin line, thin pencil. I mix the Prussian blue with the gray. This is where brush control comes in. And you can learn this. You can learn this. I've had some students for over 30 years. Yep. That's when I was teaching at the JCC on the Upper West Side. Unfortunately, they did not reopen their art classes. Too bad. I don't know what they're doing there now. Certainly not art. It's a shame because there was some talented ceramics people, woodworking. I mean, just really talented people. See the line? That little thin pencil line makes that bowl pop. I gotta do the base too. I gotta do the base. So the highlight comes all the way across. Okay, down to the wire here. Water here. Soften down the brightness of this. All right. Let's get some stems in there. That'll tie these all together. Now the stems I have fun with. I use like quinacridone gold. I use a nice bright gold for that. I mean, what the heck, right? These are your checks. Where's the cute gold? Yep. Yep. I grab a napkin because I'm going to lift out for a highlight. Right here at the end. Yes, I could get more sophisticated. I could put in shadow and additional detail, but these are just stems. You don't really have to. What's nice is they add an abstract quality to the picture. And I apologize for the presentation. Really not my way of managing. But that will be corrected. I am a quick study. Right in there. Rabbit. Oh, the shadow is missing here. Fortunately, we know what to do with it. Get the gray again. Then we're going to put the last coating on the strawberries. There we go. To the rear. To the rear. Okay, we need the bright red for cherries. And then we're done. Yes, you can always push things further. Always push things further. Looking for the special color. Masking glue. I want to talk about that for a minute. I use the Misket right here. The key with masking is you have to put soap on the end of your brush before you put it in the masking fluid. Otherwise, it hardens and you have to throw the brush out. Also, when you get your masking material, date it. Date it. This way, you know how long it's been around. Let's test the color. Here's my paper. Nope. 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 There it is. Two brushes again. I often take still pictures of the process. This is quinacridone red that I'm putting on here. In the shadow as well as on the top. It had to look redder, right? Otherwise, ain't no cherry. See, they're practically glowing now. If you're on Facebook with me, you will see I will post tomorrow, because the optimum picture taking with an iPhone is outside. It really is nice. I don't think I did this one. I know people teach courses in that. You can teach yourself. Like cherries. This is called a glaze. When you put over one color over existing colors, it's called a glaze. Can't tell you how fast I'm working it. Or you can see it. Oh, see? Piece of white there. Let's put this color right there. There we go. Bring it right up into this one, this one. This one. This one. Now, if I had time, I would darken the shadows one more time also. I would maximize them. Yep. Because that's what I like doing. My edges are getting sloppy. Working too fast. We may actually get through this. We just might. One more in the bowl. Then we have the Outlanders here. Yeah, maybe going back down to Chadsford this fall for myself and my wife. I had a very successful time there. It would be really great to capitalize and just focus on my work. Getting down to the wire. With my classes, I don't watch the clock. I try to work till we're done. So they do extend themselves a little bit at times because you want to do it correctly. Not like all of a sudden ringing a bell saying, all right, kids, time to go. It's just never been like me. All those years teaching at places. Last one. Is there a drum roll? Again, there's no background. The time did not allow for it. Perhaps with an extra half hour or even an hour, I could have done something with it. See? You should take a screenshot of this. Just talking out loud. Okay. Brush. You know, maybe. I'm missing one shadow. I gotta put it in, sorry. Go to the purple and the blue. This is a light purple. Without that value in there, everything is flat. Don't have to have a dark color, just enough there to take out the brightness. This is all in shadow. An important little color. A little sloppy, but we made it through it. Push it down. What I'll do is I'm going to turn this around and I'll hold it up in front of the camera.
Richard Brenner's asking a question. What is the name of the material in the jar? Was it masking and what is its use?
That's mask. It's called Miskit. Miskit, M-I-S-K-I-T. All right. There you have. Now the background would add a certain drama, but hey, this is what we got, and I think it worked out well. The stark paper is sometimes very nice to work with, right? Actually, usually what I do is I take off the tape, and that allows you to see it without the color of the tape. I don't like the color. I use this neutral tape, this Scotch tape, if you will, Scotch masking, because I don't like the pink and not the pink, the green and the blue tapes. I think they're so distracting. I'm a colorist, and of course that stuff is like, hey, very distracting. You see, without the tape, makes a difference. You don't have that border. There it is. Life is a bowl of cherries.
So Richard Brenner was also asking, what is the Miskit used for?
It's used for two things. One, it's for protecting something that's vital that you don't want to paint over that may be very small. And the second thing would be freedom of motion. So let's say you're painting a lighthouse, right? And you're going to have to paint around that lighthouse. The sky is never going to come out right. So that's what that's for. It's really for ease of motion. And you can also apply different techniques with it. You know, you can splatter it with a toothbrush, right? You can do all that stuff. Very nice. Actually, I can show you a painting now that I've got. I have accumulated over a period of 3 years or more in Zoom, close to 550 Zoom paintings. Because, you know, when you actually finish something, it's not trivial. Not trivial. Oh, well, this is just a quick Zoom thing. I don't believe in quick Zoom things. Not that I don't like spontaneity. I like spontaneity. But you won't see me dripping water down a piece of paper or splattering. Well, I may splatter once in a while for texture. And those are all, important things overall. And again, I encourage people to send their photographs to the class, because you may have gone on a trip and you said, oh, I really took a great photo of X, and I'd like to learn how to paint it. And that's one way you can do it. There are many teachers that say, this is the assignment. We're going to paint the Red Barn in the Berkshires, right? And you may have already done that. So you're looking to do something different. So the techniques in the workshop, we were learning dry brush. And one thing that Andrew Wyeth did a lot. See? 3 colors on location. 3 colors. This is the blue one. This is the brown. You can see you're really in old country there. This was a 300-year-old farm, working farm. We have one in Queens, so I could relate to it. I wonder if my godmother, years and years ago when I was little, brought me places like that, because she did a lot of that. She was very into it. So those are a couple of kinds of things. Monochrome is fun. That's not monochrome though, 3 colors. And it really allows for a lot of freedom and liberty. Like you don't have to match the color, you have to match the tone, right? So the deep shadows in the shingles are great, but how are you going to, you're going to, excuse me, the right color brown, the right color green, the right, it simplifies things. And especially for a workshop project, it worked really well, really well.
We have another question from Arlene Fiorella. Your series 7, is it Winsor and Newton?
Yes, it is. I'll show it to you. Series 7.
Just about.
Unfortunately, this brush runs about $135 now. But hey, this is why there are anniversaries and birthdays and, you know, special occasions. This is one I did in Maine. I was in Maine for a week. I got to back it up because this is a large piece. See? It looks yellow. It's not. It has to do with the incandescent lights. Sitting outside, au plein air. Most plein air people, you know, they'll do 5x7. I'd fall asleep on 5x7. I can't breathe. I need to breathe here. We usually, most certainly, I try never to repeat a project unless there's a demand for it. If someone says, oh, that Coney Island piece we did, do you have other pictures of Coney Island? I said, listen, my computer has 75,000 pictures on it. It's backed up with 5 separate systems between iCloud and all the rest of it, because I've lost that situation.
So we would like to thank Denis for giving such an interesting demonstration. It was wonderful. Thank you. Even with our technical hitch at the beginning, I think it was great once we got going. We hope you all found it both engaging and informative.
Right.
Just to let you know that our next lecture, I believe it's actually next week, will be by Neil Slaughter. Now he is giving the next exhibition. It'll be a 50-year retrospective. So he's coming on to talk about his life and work.
That's interesting.
Yes, I think it will be interesting. And the opening reception for his retrospective will be on September 8th, as I mentioned before. Please come if you're available, 5:30 to 7:30. And also please look out for our email about our other lectures, exhibitions, and other upcoming events and classes. And don't forget that Denis Ponsot is going to be teaching online through the Atelier, starting in the fall. I think the first day of class will be, let's see, the session begins on the 12th, which is the Monday. So he is teaching on Wednesday evenings. I believe we set it at 6 to 9. It's all available on the website. The information is there. You can register online. So please check us out, atelier@flowerfield.org.
Keep in mind, the first class, I am going to most likely either be in Maine or Chatsford, but I've Zoomed from there before. It's very easy to do. As long as you have a hotspot on your phone, you're good to go.
And Denis will be doing this through his own Zoom account. So he will be sending you the links.
Yes.
And we hope that this will then go more smoothly.
Great.
So he's done it a lot. So definitely very experienced at doing this method of teaching. So I hope you'll join him. And Denis, I would like to thank you very much. It was wonderful. And thank you everyone for coming in, and I wish you a good night.
Good night. Be well.
Good night.